Let's talk about why Trevor Story has become an even bigger problem this season than he was in 2025, and why the "he turned it around before" argument is starting to lose its legs, and what the Red Sox can actually do about it because the options are pretty limited. If you watched the Red Sox at all last year, you lived through this exact situation. Story hit just 138 with 49 strikeouts over a brutal 38-game stretch from April through early June in 2025. The DFA conversation was everywhere. And then he flipped it, posted an 827 OPS over the final 4 months, and finished with a team-high 25 home runs and 96 RBI. That's the whole reason this is such a complicated conversation right now. Because we've seen him do it before. We know what he's capable of. But here's where 2026 is different. Through his first 38 games of 2026, Story is hitting 200 with 55 strikeouts and a 520 OPS. And before you say, those numbers are almost identical to last year at this point. Yeah, they are. That's actually a big part of the problem. Because this is now year 2 of Trevor Story putting this team in an absolutely brutal position early in the season. At some point, you stop calling it a slow start and you start calling it a trend. Let's run through some of the numbers because this stuff is bad. Story is hitting 200 with a 236 on-base percentage and a 520 ops. He has struck out at least 3 times in 6 of his 38 games. 6 times in 38 games. That's basically once a week you're getting a Trevor Story game where he strikes out 3 or more times. He is striking out 33% of the time this season. That is not a slow start stat. That's a something is wrong stat. And it's not just the bat. He has the third most errors among MLB shortstops with 5 on the season, and he sits at -1 outs above average. So you're not getting the bat and you're not getting the glove either. The only thing Trevor Story is consistently giving you right now is leadership in the clubhouse. But you cannot pencil a guy into the middle of your lineup 4 or 5 nights a week based on his locker room presence. Coming into this season, with Devers and Bregman no longer in town, Story was viewed as a guy who needed to take on a bigger role in the heart of Boston's lineup in 2026. And instead, he's been the opposite. He's been a drain on an offense that was already going to have to fight to score runs. Interim manager Chad Tracy has been keeping Story hitting 4th or 5th since taking over, and look, I understand why. Story is a veteran. He's respected. Tracy wasn't going to walk in on day 1 and blow the whole thing up. But at some point, keeping a guy hitting 200 in the cleanup spot stops being loyalty and starts being a detriment to your baseball team. So what do the Red Sox actually do here? Because this is where it gets complicated. Option 1, and the one fans are screaming for, is a DFA just cut your losses, move on. The problem is it's hard to imagine the organization eating the $50 million remaining on his contract, especially given how he turned it around in 2025. And if they DFA him and he goes on to post an 800-plus OPS with another club, it gives fans yet another reason to rip the front office. So that one's messy. Option 2 is a trade. With a hefty contract and poor early season numbers, Story's trade value is at its absolute lowest right now. No team is giving you anything meaningful for a 33-year-old with a 520 ops. Option 3, and honestly the most realistic one in the immediate future, is dropping him in the batting order and getting more creative with the lineup. The Red Sox should move Story down in the lineup and consider a position switch. Put Mayer at short. Slide Story to second, or give him some time on the bench. At least that way you stop putting him in situations where his struggles directly cost you runs in big spots. The team's defense overall has been really good this season. Boston leads baseball in defensive runs saved, and a lot of that is being undermined when Story's errors pop up in critical moments. The longer this goes on, the more the Red Sox and interim manager Chad Tracy have to start thinking about taking the keys to the starting shortstop gig away from him. And the defensive struggles are starting to look less like a slump and more like diminishing athleticism and arm strength. That's the part of this conversation that nobody in the organization wants to have out loud, but everybody is thinking. The Red Sox are remarkably only 2 games back of a wild card spot, which tells you how wide open the AL is right now, but they have to start stringing wins together to stay in that conversation. And they cannot do that with Trevor Story hitting 200 in the middle of their lineup, committing errors in key spots, and watching Fenway Park boo him in the 3rd inning of a Sunday afternoon game. The bottom line is this. Last year, patience with Trevor Story paid off in a massive way. This year, the Red Sox and their fans are being asked to make that same bet again. And some of the data, the defensive numbers, the age, the contact rate, the hard hit numbers, is starting to suggest that maybe the bounce-back story we saw in the second half of 2025 was the outlier, not the expectation. The Red Sox need to at minimum drop him in the order immediately. They need to consider a position switch. And if this extends into June without any real improvement, the hard conversation has to happen. Because you cannot keep protecting a guy in the lineup out of respect for what he did 6 months ago, when what he's doing right now is actively costing this team ball games. But that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments section down below, do you trust the bounce back this year? Or is 2026 Trevor Story different enough from 2025 that you've officially lost patience? And how long is your leash at this point? Let me know down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Hit the like button too. Go Red Sox!